Kim, what were you doing before awards school?
I was working as a public relations consultant.
I was going to school in the States and concentrating on a pro football career. And then I broke my leg.
I was a fashion photographer in a rut.
I was driving taxis for 18 months.
Before I did the school, I was a suit at a very small agency out of Parramatta.
I was in dispatch at Leo Burnett's.
I was a waiter. That was it, basically. Then odd jobs.
I was working at the time at PKB, a little agency called Pope Keenan and Black with Ray Black.
Finding myself, anything and everything. Basically, looking for a job like advertising.
I'm trying to get in first, and that was directly. I was a high school teacher, worked in men's fashion.
Before awards school, I was a geologist. Yeah, I used to look for gold in Western Australia.
I studied 2 years graphic design before I was at awards school.
I was at school.
Started off doing law, actually, at university, and didn't really think much of that. I was going out with a girl at the time who was a graphic designer, and that looked like a lot more fun.
I was in my last year of design at Curtin University in Perth and majoring in advertising, trying to get into advertising, and then awards school came along. And
I was up at Byron Bay boiling down cane toads and selling them as a hallucinogenic drug.
Well, I worked at the Sydney Morning Herald as a cartoonist, but it always seemed to rain underneath the umbrella for some reason.
I was working as an accountant, actually, after completing a university degree in economic theory and law.
I just finished going to university, actually, and I was in Hunter Valley picking grapes.
Before awards school, I was a computer programmer.
Computer program.
Riveting stuff.
I was selling nappies. I was a junior copywriter at Stuart Roach Watson.
Well, I was a real estate agent, PE teacher, and when I was doing awards school, I was a toilet cleaner for Portaloo.
The thing I remember most about awards school was a lecture theatre packed with students at Sydney Uni and drinks at the Student Prince.
I remember in the first lecture being really intimidated by all the groovy Mossman dispatch kids. It was a bit much. I caught the training from Hornsby, and I thought, oh God, these guys... Fortunately, the haircuts was about all they had. They were pretty useless.
How tough it was. How tough the tutors were.
I think the hard work. It was really intensive 13 weeks. Like you just worked all the time.
I remember being on the bus, coming into work and seeing Oliver Tavares on the bus, and we were in the same year, and we'd show each other the ads we'd been working on for the same briefs, and we're considering even being a team, even though we're both writers. We'd look at each other's ads, and I'd look at Ollie's stuff and say, oh, I don't know if that's that good, and then he went on and won the end of the year.
I think standout memory would probably be the Mercantile.
Getting a lot of criticism from people, learning to deal with that, and just being on a massive learning curve, which probably still hasn't stopped.
Probably not doing the work that was assigned for one of the evenings, and we used to sit down and have a drink before we got started and doing all that sort of stuff, and that would be in a separate room to where the award room was. And I do remember taking a layout pad in while everyone was having a drink and looking at everyone else's concepts and seeing what they'd done. None of them were any good, though. None of them were good enough to copy, so it was sit down on the spot and do something. But it was open slather in those days. I think anything went.
I thought that most of the people that would be talking, would be talking about themselves being a bit wanky. And the last time I was at Sydney Uni, I sort of had, academics, and I just thought advertising people would be talking about, their engine sizes and things like that. Really wanky things, and it wasn't, which is very surprising. So, yeah, it's very practical.
I had a lot of fun. We used to, after class, I was at Saatchi's. Well, actually, I did awards school twice. I only think it was the second time because the first time I found it too hard and dropped out.
There was a cute girl in the back row, but not much more than that.
Awards school was a lot harder than I expected. I didn't realise how disciplined it was to write an ad. I didn't realise how responsible you had to be, that you had to be incredibly focused and all your ideas had to be very distilled.
I remember one of the tutors crying during one of the classes. That was pretty interesting as well. His words were, "I hate advertising."
I remember thinking like, wow, I finally found out how to get into advertising, because it seemed like the whole thing condensed down to 12 weeks, and it was almost like a relief to find this amazing set of lectures and things that taught you sort of what you needed to know to get into advertising.
It was better than what I expected, actually. It was extremely inspiring, and it just made you realise that there's a million different ways to do a good ad.
How unorganised it was, actually. It was the first year that it started, and I think there was a lot of sort of finding new ground and figuring out how it was going to work.
One tutor got very drunk, obviously no names. We all got very drunk, and he lost his girlfriend. He smashed his Porsche. We smashed a lot of furniture, and one of us relieved themselves in the hallway. I remember that was perhaps one fairly eventful evening.
You probably the look of disgust on the other class members when I turned up coming straight from Portaloo. So often I didn't have time to have a shower, so they weren't keen on that. But I think the thing that stood out was it was just like an entry to a new world. I didn't have any idea of what advertising was about.
How did you go in award school?
They had a masterclass then, but that kind of fell apart because George Betts just took off. So I guess, I don't know how many people in the class. Do you remember? 8, 10, I don't know.
I wasn't in the top 2. I did have work up on the wall though.
I did it twice, and the first time I think I worked reasonably hard at it, but I thought I'd done far better than I really had. And then the second time, it was exactly as I expected, because I knew I had to go back in there and work bloody hard if I was going to do any good.
First year, not very well. They only chose 2 portfolios from each class, and mine wasn't chosen the first year. The second year around, I got a radio campaign chosen, and that was it.
I was lucky enough to get second place at AWARDSchool. I think it was great help, Sarchies and Foster Nunn, but yeah, it did quite well.
I think both years I got a few things on the walls, but never won. Always, just a couple of things on the wall.
I was the national runner-up.
You know, Esther, I won. I won a trip to New York, so that was great.
I won it. You're trying to probe a question out of me, aren't you?
Did you know you were going to win?
Yeah, I convinced myself I was going to win it from the start. Yeah, I sort of put my mind to it and said that's my goal for the next... It was only 12 weeks and it's a short period of time. I thought it'll change my life if I win it, so I set about going to win it.
Terrible. I the first time dropped out, second time got through, but certainly came nowhere near winning.
I didn't win, which gave me the shits because I really wanted to win, but, I went okay and got some work on the wall afterwards and got a job, so that's good.
The year that I did it, I think they awarded first, second, and then there were runners-up. I was one of the runners-up. And from that, I got a job. That was one of the sort of prizes of becoming a finalist in the AWARDSchool, was to get a job.
Well, I ended up actually, one drawing for that would have to be that one there, where I didn't come first, second or third, but I won as far as I was concerned. I invented my own rules and I was happy. I was happy with how I went. Yes, that's me up there.
Not very well.
Why?
Because I think it took me a while to kind of get the idea about how it worked. It's a bit like windsurfing. I think you just keep falling off for a long time and then eventually you stand up and you figure it out. I finally figured it out, I suppose, after that.
They gave me a little pins at the end, but I think I could have done better.
Oh, it's shocking. I think they took the top 4 out of each class, and there were 10 classes, and they went in, those 40 people went into the top class for the final exhibition, and I didn't get in any of that top 4 of my class. Or
A runner-up, I think, and one best and fairest.
Well, back then there were no gradings, so I assume I won.
How did you get your first job?
I went into the campaign palace and said, "Oh, can I have a job?" And they said, "Oh, no, we don't hire juniors, but why don't you try Magnus and Curvis and Curl?" So I went into Magnus and said, "Can I have a job?" And they said, "Okay." And I thought, great, I'm in advertising.
I'm going to lie here and say I tromped up George Street and worn out shoes and washed windows and all that but actually I was just given a job before I finished the course.
I realised that having not done that well at awards school, really the only way to do it was to go out and start a new portfolio. So I spent the next 8 or 9 months developing my own briefs and my own ideas and a totally new portfolio that didn't include any awards school stuff.
How I got my first job, it was, I must say, it was primarily thanks to Paul Hanson, who was then at Weeks Morrison Osborne. Paul took me aside, he rang about 12 or 14 creative directors, said, look, you've got to see this guy, you've at least got to give him an interview. And on my last interview that I had lined up, I virtually took about 2 weeks sick leave from my job at the time. Just kept ringing and saying, look, I'm really crook, I've got the flu. And the last interview was with David Bourne at Magnus Curvis and Curl, and David gave me a job, which was very fortunate.
Bill worked on my portfolio. I had a portfolio at the end of awards school and changed a few of the ads so it wasn't like everyone else's. At first I got promoted within Leo Burnett's from dispatch to junior writer, and then I went to other agencies to try and get better work, and more agencies.
I just chose, I think it was about 6 to 8 agencies that I thought I'd really like to work at, and if I didn't get anywhere with those, then I'd go down 6 or 8 agencies which are less of standard. So I was actually quite lucky. The first 6 that I chose, I actually got jobs in, so got 2 of them.
A lot of trekking around town, taking my book around, seeing creative directors, and if I couldn't see creative directors, talking to anyone else in the agency.
And how long did that take?
Well, from the beginning it probably took about 6 months, but after award school it only took a couple of weeks.
Well, before award was decided, because as you know, they take the books and there's a couple of weeks, we've probably got about six weeks, 2 months. I put together a mailer, went to see a lot of people. Peter Cohen at Saatchi's was really helpful at that stage because I saw him, got briefs, worked with him. So I was doing a lot of seeing people before results came out, and it took me a fair while to put a mailer together. And it was pretty tricky, and so I just sent that out and hassled people after that.
What was your mailer?
It was a little TV set. I haven't got it. A little 50s TV set that you look up and you see these dicky slides. My grandmother had one of Salzburg, and I went, oh, we used to always make fun of it. So I just went, I'm sure I could pull that apart and put some ads in it. So that's what I did.
I got my first job by ripping out advertisements in the Women's Weekly and redoing them in the way that I thought was a much better communication, and that's how I got my first job.
I was very lucky. I was offered a job halfway through award school by my tutors, Alan Wooding and Adrian at FCB. That's where I was doing the class.
I just kept trying. I just never gave up. You just got to take heaps of knockbacks and just keep trying, keep working harder and harder at it, and going and seeing more and more people. You ride the risk of becoming a pain in the arse if you keep hassling people all the time, but you've just got to keep trying. Never give up.
Well, I remember I'd been to see quite a few agencies, and they'd all said, oh, we love you, you're great, but we can't give you a job. And then I saw an ad for an agency looking for a senior writer, and I just thought, oh, what the hell, I'll go for it. And the creative director just thought I had something and wasn't a senior writer. I'd never worked in an agency before, but he gave me the job, so that was good.
What I do is I would write ads, small boxes on an A4 sheet, and fax them through every day to people that I wanted to work with, and some people I didn't want to work with. And I eventually got a job at George Patterson, which is where I wanted to work.
I showed my book around, and my boss decided that he liked it.
How long did that take?
6 months.
So you went to see a lot of agencies?
I did a lot of work experience, in which case I learned a hell of a lot about writing ads.
First writing job I did the AFA training scheme immediately afterwards, and I was taken on at YNR. I kept working there as a writer.
I pestered every agency in Sydney for 7 months, sent out mailers, and Phil Atkinson at Doyle Dane Burnback finally gave me a job.
I heard about it through award school, actually, that this job was available, and I rang them, and it was my first time a sexual experience, but I got the job.
Well, I met George Betsis at the Reader's Digest party, and in a drunken stupor got a phone number off him and hounded him for the next year. I was cleaning the toilets during the day and I'd send him ads at night and just sort of attached myself. A bit of a parasite, and ended up, he gave me a job.
Well, for a while things did not go as I had have thought. There was always a flip side to everything, and it was as if I was swimming against the tide for a while. But then things seemed to fall into place. I continued working at the Herald, and I have a brand of my own of clothing and furniture, and I have my own shop at the moment as well.
What are the qualities needed to get a job?
I was very lucky, but I think you need usually a lot of tenacity, a lot of patience. You have to get used to having your book probably ridiculed and pulled apart, so you need to not take it too seriously.
Obviously you've got to have a good book, but I look for people that... I like people that are fun as well, that can bring something to the agency. I think that's pretty important.
Persistence, discipline, versatility, and a hungry mind. Has anyone else said that?
No.
The qualities to get a job, I think, well, firstly talent, but it's far more than that. I think it's bloody-minded persistency, and it's just the effort just to keep going and keep door knocking and not take no for an answer. Just to push yourself to your very, to what you think is your limit, and just go, and just keep at it.
Just hard work and, determination to learn as well and listen to what people have got to say. I've spent 3 years now. I'm still learning.
Don't start with an attitude. I see a lot of juniors come in there, books trying to sell themselves, and they already have an attitude. And I think an agency is made up of people, and people are the cogs. And if you've got a whole lot of hot juniors coming in showing you their books, and the level is quite similar, you're not going to choose someone who's got a bit of a head on them or what have you. So that's only one part. Obviously, having a great book, can't emphasise that, and a different book.
To get a job in this industry, you have to be incredibly determined. You have to be able to take a lot of criticism and be prepared to continually rework your book and just keep going for it.
I've thought about this one. It's two things you need. You need persistence. Never give up. Absolutely never give up. If you see a place and you see people that you really, whether it's the Palace or whether it's George Pat's, it doesn't matter. If you set your sights on a place, don't give up on them. Keep making the phone calls. Make yourself a pest. The other thing you need to get you through that, because it will take a good long time. It's in very few situations will you walk into a job, because agencies don't simply have jobs waiting on their books for writers. You'll need a sense of humour, and it is so important to be able to take the knocks as well as the kicks. And the sense of humour can be anything from how you approach getting a job to how you cope with the rejection when they don't give you the job.
I definitely have to be persistent and not think that people are stuffing you around and take it personally. So you really need to have one of those, I don't give a fuck type, sorry, said that. I don't really give a shit type of egos. People aren't sort of, giving you the runaround. Basically, they're too busy to see you. So you need to have don't take it too personally with criticism or people who can't see you. You need to be enthusiastic and just keep going.
Tenacity. Just keep going.
An obsessive kind of enthusiasm for advertising in all its forms. You've got to be, I think you've got to be a very visual person. It's not enough to think, I just want to be a copywriter and only look at copy and headlines. I think you've got to be more a total kind of creative person. You've just got to be looking and listening all the time.
I think, as Einstein said, it's 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. I don't necessarily think that you have to be a great creative genius to learn how to be a great advertising person. I think it's a discipline you have to learn. And if you learn the structures of how to do a good communication, you're naturally going to evolve clever thoughts and I think that it's really hard work, and it's listening and learning and putting into action what you learn.
Well, I reckon apart from having being good at writing ads, you've got to be able to understand what you're doing rather than just going away and just writing ads for the sake of it. It needs to be grounded on some kind of strategy and know what you're talking about, understand people, I guess, as well as be able to think of good ideas.
These days, I think you need perseverance. That's about all you need. There aren't many jobs out there, so you've got to keep hanging in there.
The qualities of persistence, be pleasant, and never be complacent about your ads.
I think you have to be ruthless to start with. It has to become some form of obsession. And it's even more so now. It's harder than when I started. And I think you need, I think you have to, coupled with that raw enthusiasm, you need this curiosity. You really want to enjoy discovering things. So an obsessiveness and a curiosity is a good quality.
Well, energy and talent. Dave Trott said that energy will always beat talent because energy's working through lunch while talent's down the road getting drunk. And I think ultimately that's true. You see, a lot of people have got the talent, but they have no persistence, and you never hear from them. This game particularly is much harder than when I first started going into advertising, and without enormous persistence, you may as well forget it.
Why do you think it's harder?
Well, I got a job really quickly, and I don't think I think it'd be almost impossible for me to get a job now. So it's just much harder.
Obsessive tenacity.
And what do you look for in a junior?
Obsessive tenacity. Because talent you can develop, the kind of killer desire to get in this business is the quality I look for.
In juniors, Tom Molt gave a good lecture at AWARDSchool, which was from someone who was working in the industry in London, who said he sees so many fantastic books from juniors. What he really looks for and the ones that he hires are the ones who are polite. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. Also, enthusiasm, keenness, people who come back with their book time and time again, changing it, a new book every time. And also who listen to comments, they do correct things. They don't just say, oh, well, I liked it that way, and leave it in, because that can be insulting.
Someone who works very hard, someone who's keen, someone who listens, someone who's clever, a good thinker, an intelligent person.
Well, the main thing is potential. That's the underlying thing I look for, potential. But they've got to be confident, not arrogant. They've dedicated and willing to work whatever it takes to achieve what I want them to achieve and what they want to achieve, and that they listen.
They've got to live and breathe it, they really do. If you don't give it 150%, it's just, you're wasting your time. I'm even seeing some students at the moment who are in, and they're sort of saying, oh, I'm not trying that hard, or I've been a bit slack, and I think, well, give up now.
Yeah, to be able to listen to you, to be able to learn, and have great ideas to start with.
Oh, well, in the thousands of juniors that I've hired, yeah. I look for someone who will, listen to what you're saying to them, and if you say, this is good but not good enough, they'll go away and do it again and come up with more ads, because there's so many people out there and there's no time for people who aren't committed to it. If you're not committed, then forget it, get out.
I look for someone who knows the basics and looks like they're not going to forget them in a hurry.
Somebody that's obviously got an understanding of what they're doing. It's not enough just to be enthusiastic. They've got to have an understanding. And somebody who's prepared to virtually start from scratch, to rip their book apart, to build it back together, to keep coming back to you, just to show persistency and enthusiasm that, they're prepared to work hard at it.
A willingness to listen, an understanding of the business side of it, as well as just the creative side of it, and versatility, I think.
Tenacity, willingness to learn.
I suppose, yeah, it's a horrible American word, attitude. Probably like a good attitude, someone who can listen. Someone, of course, who's got their own sense of creativity, but still logical, not just, you know, different for the sake of it, but some logic. Because when you actually have to write ads, you know, in the real ad world for big clients, you really need to be logical, not just, you know, spacey. So probably, yeah, just someone who could take a bit of advice and someone who's got interesting work.
I look for someone who is prepared to work for nothing. I look for a spark. I look for what someone great would be like when they just started out. You know, sometimes you see cynical juniors and, you know, I just don't want to have anything to do with them. But then you see people who have this kind of volcano in their eye, and you can see that they're going to do the hard hours. And as Helmut Crone said, you know, greatness comes at 11 p.m. lurched over your drawing board. And, you know, I look for someone who's going to be there at, you know, 11:05.
I think an enthusiasm and also a willingness to be able to accept criticism and to a willingness to be able to try again, and also a willingness to accept the fact that you don't know everything and the person who teaches you, always giving you advice, doesn't know everything. So a really open-mindedness is really a good quality to have.
I look for a spark, something different, because so many of them, I'm sure everybody, I mean, we are all different, but unless you can demonstrate some of that, you're probably not going to be able to demonstrate it on a pad as well as the next guy or the previous guy that has just sort of blown the office up.
Originality, intelligence, and most importantly, the attitude, you know, being willing to learn.
Is there anything you'd like to add or say about award school?
I think it's a great idea, and I think it's got better over the years. Certainly, you know, having tutes and lectures, you know, is much better than it was initially. I think the standard's a lot higher. I think people coming out are getting better and better every year.
Well, I think one of the things I always hold is to always look to the future, and I think there was a great sense of hope in award, but that sense of hope is now always there, and I suppose it always was there, so it confirmed that in me. And I think the first few weeks of award really hark to the future and hark to what you can be and who you can be.
I think it's a really good way, even if you don't think that you could make it in a creative department, I think it's a really good thing for you to do, whether you work in a film company or whether you work on anything. If you're a journalist, anything, you know, you should, you know, give it a try, because, you know, you just don't know. You might really love it.
Well, I don't know where I'd be without award school. I think it's a fantastic course.
Yes, I think the award school's been a great opportunity for women like myself to get into the industry, because previous to the school, I think most people got in via the dispatch department, and it really was sort of dominated by men. Now, since the award school started, it's incredible how many women are actually working in the industry now.
Yes, Esther, I'm going to give the aren't the kids rubbish these days when we get. One thing I've noticed is when I did it was only like for 12 weeks. So it was 12 weeks of my life, and I put everything aside for 12 weeks to do it. And, you know, you get kids, they come in now and they go, "Oh, sorry, Craig, I was busy this weekend, but I've done this on the bus on the way in." And you sort of go, "Oh, get stuff then, you know." It's only 12 weeks, and that's sort of set me up for 5 years. So try and put things aside for it rather than, you know, like people come and say, "I went to a 21st." You go, "Well, why didn't you go?" It's only 12 weeks. That's it. And I must add that your eye's looking nice today, Esther.
Thank you.
Bye. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, just look at the people in the award book. You'll find that a large proportion, and getting larger every year, are ex-award students.
I enjoy doing it. I also enjoy sort of coming back for, like, feeling like if there's an award function, they just go, "Oh, I get an invitation." That's always really nice. It's good that they follow things through and you sort of feel a part of it. It's not just like, you know, you sort of do the course for 12 weeks and that's it. You know, unlike 4 years of university where you can still walk around and lecturers don't know you. So it's a good little, it's a community feel, Esther, that I like.
That's lovely.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful thought.
I know, it's beautiful.
No, I think award school's great. I was very lucky, and I've been fortunate because of award school. I got my job and I got a start. I think it's an essential part of advertising because it's really it's the breeding ground of young people to get into advertising. There really isn't any other course. There are a lot of other tech courses and stuff like that, but they're all, this is generally speaking, but taught by people who aren't in the industry themselves or no longer in touch with the industry. And award school's a hands-on school, and it's run by the industry for the industry, which is great. So I think it's essential.
Yeah, I think probably the main thing is after seeing a lot of juniors in America, the quality of their portfolios and also their thinking towards idea creation isn't anywhere as good as the award school graduates. The award school graduates seem to come out of award school really knowing how to think and approach a problem, whereas, so for the Americans, they come out knowing how to render and how to put an ad together, and it'll look very pretty. This is in their books, the students' books, but the thoughts aren't as strong. And so the award school really shows people how to think. So I think that's a distinction.
The sandwiches at the luncheon, you know, it's just appalling.
Do you think it's affected your career?
In spite of award school, I made it. No. It was very good and very helpful and an all-round training, and thank you to everybody involved.
Thank you.
Can't think of anything else to say really about that.
Oh, we've got heaps anyway.
I think, well...
Who was a secretary at the time, who was in my class, and I asked her out, and about 2 hours before I went out, I ran out of guts and I never took her out, and I've always wondered what happened to her.
Well, maybe she'll come to the reunion.
I think she'll be there and I'll be gutless again.
Campaigns with legs.
It's really tempting to look.
I know, but I'm just so captivating and you've got to
Well,
look at
exactly,
me.
that's
Yeah.
right. Beautiful woman in front of me.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that one was okay.
Hey, Rich.
Good. Fuck you. Not, I swear.
It's actually...
No, I don't care.
I have to lie here because I just got given a job before award school finished. But I'd walk the streets and show my book and wash windows if you like, if that helps. Does that help with the motivation thing?
Oh, really?
No, I didn't have a problem with the haircuts like Moose. It's because Moose is a pretty untidy bastard. He can get away with being brash.
Right.
Okay. And keep your eyes on Esther. No? Yeah,
So I heartily recommend it.
Thank you, Mark.
We know Noel's been on. We know Greg's happy. He's pulling out the crossword. Yeah. And Esther's ready to ask the first question. Action.
Adam.
Esther.
I was up at Byron Bay boiling down cane toads and selling them as an hallucinogenic drug.
Oh, I'm so red. I'm so flushed.
That was great.
How embarrassing. How embarrassing.
Do it.
Cause.
It's worthwhile.
And have you won anything yet?
Mercantile Raffle. It's a pub across the road from Sarchi's. I think I won. That's anything I've won so far, but...
The respect of millions. No, I've won, I think, 10 award pencils, Fax Commercial of the Year, a few Caxtons, a few Fax Awards, Grand Prize, London International Awards, Gold Lion, Cannes, that sort of thing.
Droga won 12 pencils.
Yeah, but the one's a student award.
Oh, right. What are the qualities you think that are needed to get a job?
He hasn't won 12 pencils. I'm so gullible.